I begin to see so much more than I had ever seen before. How great then is creation? Far greater than I had previously supposed. How magnificent is the cosmos. I know this through direct perception. Having long since outgrown the need to hear so-called diluted versions of the heaven worlds, I see them now myself, clearly and more clearly all the time. What is heaven but the greater expression of life? I release false notions of the past, that man could not live in a heavenly state of consciousness, for that is precisely what I am doing every day of my life. I see that life is multi-layered and multidimensional, and this becomes very obvious to me as the days roll by. For new sight floods my plane of vision. A great new light accompanies me everywhere I go, and it seems to emanate from the very core of my spirit, the very essence of myself, that which I truly am. Yes, I am light, becomes a reality to me, and living as light, I see light. I see light everywhere. I see how all things are pure energy. I see the waves of energy, the short waves, the long waves. I begin to read energy everywhere I am. I begin to see clearly how form is but a hologram, perceivable by senses that are operating at a lower and slower frequency. But at the speed of light, all things are seen constantly. Why, my vision is everywhere, for so is the sight of God everywhere. I begin to notice that when I am conversing with anyone, I notice them as light and energy. I become aware that the physical body that they appear to be using and inhabiting is but the most dense focus of their reality. That slightly more subtle, one can easily see their emotional body as energy, light. And yet more subtle, the mind, for the mental processes now become to me transparent, that I can clearly read those with whom I speak and converse like a book. My sight knows no bounds. I not only see them for what they are, certainly beyond the physical expression, but I also see them in every aspect of myself. When I converse with any, I'm having a full, multidimensional experience. I see clearly what they are thinking. I feel what they are feeling, and I know what they are saying. All of these things are second nature to me, constantly. I find myself also sensitive to the thoughts of those that I can't see physically. For from time to time, I begin to learn how it is that those that are in higher dimensions than the physical can and do send many thoughts which I do perceive, which I do hear, though they themselves might not be present, either astrally or physically. And so I realize how the faculty of perception, that some call clairaudience, is also constantly operative within me, as me, and through me. I am constantly in a sea of sight and sound, and this is reality and life as I know it. None can tell me different, for my senses shout it aloud. All of these things are perceivable of my own soul and its senses, and I begin to understand the mystery of it all, and I begin to see clearly the depth of the very mystery of life. I begin to realize that my physical body, with its physical senses, has its purpose to get along in the physical world, but that I am certainly that and more, that I see with the sight of my soul, that I hear and perceive with the hearing of my soul, that I sense and feel with the feeling of my soul, which is unlimited, and certainly beyond the realm of physical sight and sound impressions. That which some have called clairvoyance, I experience as daily awareness. It is not unusual for me to know what might be transpiring at a distant place. For that which is called clairvoyance in space is common to me in my daily and happy experience. I have long ago let go of any foolish fears or erroneous beliefs concerning the so-called psychic realm, for I perceive it as simply life, neither more nor less. I have done with ancient primitive beliefs, and demons and goblins, and evil lurking around every corner, and I see how childish these notions are, held only by those who perceive very little themselves. Though I have an understanding of such souls as these, I am certainly in possession of those faculties which prove that the reverse is true, that indeed we all do move, live and breathe within a universe that is benevolent, full of light and joy, full of music and opportunity for experience and therefore for growth. Indeed, I am constantly growing in the Spirit. I am constantly growing as Spirit, and growth is my constant and natural state of mind. When I enter a room, at will, I can easily perceive the atmosphere of that room. I literally can see it. And I also know precisely if it shall serve my purposes for whatever reason I am there. It becomes very obvious to me that with some basic understanding and education, that every single one of us here on earth, in bodies of flesh, can expand our awareness bit by bit, little by little, until we are encompassing sights and sounds and knowledge beyond that which is so-called normal in the human state of mind. The human, I begin to see, is simply a phase of divinity, simply a level of evolutionary life, and that I am now quickly and consciously outgrowing that thing which is called human. This makes me no less feeling, on the contrary, more so, for not only do I feel with full capacity of what is called the human heart, but I now feel with a greater and infinitely more compassionate awareness called divine love. Love indeed is everywhere. Lo, I breathe it with every breath. I experience it as my truest essence, that which I am. And so indeed, I live in heaven. I move in heaven. I think in heaven. I see in heaven. I am in heaven. And heaven is a natural state of being for all of us. I find that it is quite easy to share my awareness, my intuitive knowledge with those about me. It becomes obvious to me what they are ready to hear, and what might seem a bit much at this particular point in their growth. I am constantly appropriate, therefore, and yet, in my prescience, I know precisely what would be the next step for any soul with whom I might be conversing. And I am always giving the next step to all those with whom I've got any contact whatsoever. Indeed, I am the next step for all who come in contact with me, and such is the blessing of my life and existence. I am myself a ray of evolution. I am myself a light in the forest. I am myself sight, 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 everywhere I go, bringing sight unto the blind, and awakening those about me with a higher reality of themselves, their true self. I find it very easy, then, to know what the future holds for the most part, in that the future is but a constant summing up of the past and the present. It is child's play for me to look upon any endeavor and see its most probable future result. And so the precognitive quality, known as clairvoyance in time, in the future, is as natural to me as breathing. I take a breath, I see the future. The two are one, each one done as easily as the next. A great sense of ease accompanies all of this, and I find as well that whilst my body sleeps at night, my consciousness is ever alive, awake, lucid, and traveling through various realms that my physical body is unable to accompany me along. I find it very, very easy to recall my nighttime experiences, and it is from the memory of these that I glean my yet fuller perception and conception about what life is truly about. With all of this, it also follows that I can easily perceive my beloved friends and loved ones who reside in the dimension just beyond the earth plane. And even those that I have loved upon the earth, but have now gone into that realm, even these I find easy to contact and to communicate with at will. The presence of God to me is not a theory, neither an ideal, but of course the most constant and solid reality. For what else is this thing that I move in, live in, and breathe in, but the very presence of God everywhere? And so, once again, I am living proof and testimony that that which is called clairvoyance, that which is called clairaudience, clairsentience, all of this is but the perceptive element or side of the presence of God, which is everywhere, omnipresent. I live and move in the divine sea of consciousness, constantly becoming more and more of myself. And all of this occurring beautifully, naturally, and gloriously, that all might see that I do believe and accept my role as a light bearer upon a planet temporarily shrouded in some darkness. I understand the great law of free will, and lo, I exercise it constantly, to see as opposed to not see, to hear and know as opposed to not knowing and hearing. I begin to see clearly that all of us are constantly the results of the choices and decisions that we have made and are making constantly. And so, I begin to see again how the choice to see, to be more than I previously thought I was, is one I can constantly keep making. And it is that constancy that keeps the river of life flowing, ongoing, onward to greater and greater heights. The spiraling knows no bounds. And lo, I am face to face with infinity, but I am not afraid, for infinity is my home and my playground. I am an infinite being, with infinite senses and infinite perceptions. How could it be otherwise? I find that which people refer to as spirituality is to me the most natural state of being. It becomes obvious to me when I can become of use and of service to my brethren about me. It is also obvious to me when to leave things precisely as they are. I can see the magic law of evolution working throughout. And so I find that my judgments are perfect and secure, that my personal sense of confidence is constantly growing greater and greater. As I proceed, as indeed the word implies, confide with faith, faith with that which is simply life, reality. I see the past as well, generally when attempting to understand something in the present. And it is easy for me to see how any situation, person, place, or thing has become what it is by simply casting a glance into its past to review its trail through time and space. And so my understanding is great and vast upon any topic upon which I wish to focus my attention, and I am confident that I am always in appropriate, reciprocal action with all things that I encounter. I fully and beautifully accept my spiritual sight, hearing, and knowing, that I am constantly choosing to experience yet more of the same. Life for me is a glorious and ongoing opportunity. That things that I previously would have perceived as problems or obstacles, I now see as simply energy forms that I have now got the privilege of working with, transmuting them into stepping stones and lessons through which I may yet grow further. I see up and down the river of life easily, and all I see is opportunity, experience, joy, and infinite life. These things I am. These things I am constantly becoming more and more of. These things are life and nature. My understanding of these things is vast. I accept it all. I accept myself fully. I accept my wonderful and divine destiny to become constantly more than I was yesterday. And I am grateful, I am always grateful, that I am in joy and in bliss and in love.